Greetings, gentle readers, and welcome to the vast and never-ending void we call the Comic Book Vault. I'm Captain Logan. Today's Vault is brought to you by Trenchfoot, an English book put out by OG Comics. This was sent to me a few months ago by the folks at OG Comics, and I haven't gotten a chance to review it yet, so I thought I would go ahead and endorse it here. I'd like to review it sometime down the line. I'll definitely do that. But right now, I just wanted to mention it. This is a really fun, gritty adult book. Be sure you're old enough to read this book, by the way. This is definitely a very adult book. Lots of language and that kind of stuff in this. But nevertheless, really, really fun. The art is out of this world. It's amazing black and white artwork. Again, I'm not going to get into it now, but it's really fantastic. It's about a group of people who used to be supervillains. They have superpowers. They used to be supervillains, and now they're just leading kind of a mediocre life, and they're trying to figure out how to live regular people lives and also not get caught for things they did in the past that we don't really know much about at the beginning. It's a very mysterious book. It's a very funny book. It's definitely a comedy. It's certainly worth picking up. Really fun British humor. So this is the first three issues here collected in one volume, and then there is also, I don't have it with me, I have it, but I'm not holding it, but there's also an annual, too, that goes along with it. So anyway, check that out, and I'll review that sometime down the line. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Nocturne. This is a 4-issue miniseries put out in 1995, written by Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett from Resurrection Man, which many of you know is one of my favorite things. And anyway, so this is Marvel Comics, not the regular Marvel U, its own standalone thing. Let's get into it, shall we? Nocturne. The Nocturne that most people think of is from X-Men. She's the daughter of Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch from an alternate universe outside of the main 616 Marvel U. But this is a Nocturne that stands in a universe all by himself, and I wager most people have not heard of this guy. He's an English character from London, created by Dan Abnett for this 4-issue miniseries, and he was never used or heard from, as far as I know, ever again. It's weird because it's published by Marvel, but it's not one of their regular alternate universes. Like I said, he's in a universe all by himself, and I'm kind of surprised this wasn't published by like Malibu or Epic or one of their other offshoots. But I think at the time Malibu was actually finishing up and Epic was on its way out. This book is kind of a love letter to pulp comics and radio shows. And the main story is about an old radio show that was secretly based in real events. The whole thing is about blending fiction with reality, or perhaps even to make fiction seem more realistic, a theme that was really prominent in the mid-90s. Gray Poldark is our protagonist. He's a freelance filmmaker obsessed with an old radio show called Night Raven, which is about a pretty generic costume adventurer who brought bad guys to justice. And by the way, his name's pretty on the nose, right? Gray, because the idea is that old pulp stories were trying to portray the world in a gritty, realistic light, expose the shades of gray and show that no one is really what they say they are, but still give us heroes who can spot the bad guys in the murk and bring them to justice. So anyway, Gray is making a documentary about the show, and everyone still alive who was involved either can't remember anything about the show or refuses to comment because it ruined their career. The sound man from the radio series Billy Baxter becomes known for working on Doctor Who and doesn't remember the show at all, assuming the characters Gray talks about are just Doctor Who villains. This is probably my favorite scene of the whole comic, by the way, because the name Doctor Who isn't actually used, at least in that context. Gray mentions Dr. Hurt, the villain from the radio show, and Baxter just says, Doctor Who? And then he says he prefers the Daleks. Oh, and it's also of interest to note that there was a spin-off radio series from Doctor Who actually called Nocturne in 2007, set during the time of the Seventh Doctor and written by, get this, Dan Abnett. But anyway, in the comic, the writer of the old Night Raven show, a seemingly senile old man, says he based the show entirely on real events that Night Raven himself related to him, that Night Raven had a secret code in the show that would lead to his real hideout and prove that he actually existed. In the first issue, Gray cracks the code and finds Night Raven's secret cave, complete with a brand new futuristic costume that Night Raven never wore. There's also this strange, resurrected monster terrorizing the city named Searcher, who we come to find is Night Raven's old arch-enemy, Dr. Hurt, and as the series progresses, we meet several other characters from the radio show who conveniently start popping up. So, of course, Gray takes up Night Raven's old mantle after he tries on the helmet and discovers there's a technology built into it that shows him both the past and the most probable future, and that technology ends up being what the other big bad, the Dragon, is after in the final issue of the series. Now, some of this is pretty interesting. The mantle of a hero everyone believes is just a legend being passed down to an unsuspecting successor is classic and feels kind of like a variation on the Phantom, except that the legend in a more modern fashion is built into popular culture. And through a fan of popular culture, the next man to wear the costume is selected. That's really cool stuff. But there's some sloppy and rushed storytelling here also. It's not well explained at all why the superhero mantle's name changes when passed to Gray. The helmet just tells him he's supposed to be called Nocturne, and for no good reason at all. All of the fictional pulp counterparts are apparently featured in screen spin-offs and have action figures and such, and so that's why we know what they look like, which is fine. But I do kind of wonder why their modern, realistic versions have to look so 90s Image Comics rather than being more reminiscent of the era the book seems to have such an affection for. It's like the book is trying to make us buy that that look is somehow more realistic, but it just comes off as, this look is what's in right now, and we're trying to sell these books. It also feels like maybe Abnett wanted to do this as an ongoing, but Marvel would only give him a mini. That's apparent, especially in the last issue, where in 22 pages, everything wraps up really quickly. All the mysteries set up in that first issue, and even a few set up at the beginning of issue 4. There's this big reveal that the original Night Raven has been brainwashed and genetically retooled to be one of the bad guys, Hate Mare. Yeah, Hate Mare. And that might have been a big deal had it not been handled in the last few pages and resolved so quickly, but as it is, it comes so quickly it's hard to even think about its implications. But hey, despite its overt 90s edge and rush story, it's still a pretty fun series, and it's got some great throwbacks to old pulp heroes. Well, hey, now it's time to go on to a trivia question. Our trivia question from last time was written by Tori GNR1, and he asks, who was the third Green Goblin in Spider-Man comics? And the correct answer there was David Lowell. That was answered first by Mega Explain to You. So good job to you for getting that right. And hey, if you think you know the answer to this next question, be sure, of course, to put it in the comments below. And I'll be sure to mention the first person who gets it right in the next episode of the Comic Book Vault. The question this time is, Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning have been writing together for a long time. They're currently writing ongoings for both DC and Marvel. They're writing Resurrection Man for DC, of course, but they're also writing a book for Marvel. And the question is, what is that book? If you think you know, like I said, put that in the comments below. And hey, did you know that the Comic Book Vault is an amazing call box of comic books that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and you can both donate to and buy things from the Comic Book Vault. If you'd like to see what we're selling currently out of the Comic Book Vault, you can go to wearegeeksnotnerds.com. Click on the Comic Book Vault, and that'll show you what we have on eBay right now. Putting on lots and lots of stuff right now, so please go check that out. See if there's anything you'd like to try to pick up. Lots of stuff going for dirt cheap. Go check it out. And we also take comic books to review. If you'd like to donate anything, be sure to send it to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. And thanks as always for watching the Comic Book Vault. I'll see you next time. I'm Captain Logan. Happy reading.